illegal drugs are prohibited from display or use in any part of the airport.
What's the purpose of no smoking out there? It's a wide open area, a lot of guys like to smoke and they're taking off landing and stuff.
Well, that's around other aircraft, and who else thinks that's safe?
Smoking in the aircraft?
Smoking in around aircraft, you might have fuel leakage.
I've got an ashtray in my airplane.
Yeah, a lot of planes have ashtrays.
They did up until 1970.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I got a pre-70 and I still smoke.
You smoke in it or around? You can smoke in
Oh,
it.
I smoke in my aircraft,
Oh, that's fine.
absolutely. The butyrate goes, I've got to worry.
I can see why not around the,
That's right.
any other place, I don't see what makes any difference.
I don't want to be taxing around people that are smoking in my aircraft if I have a fuel drip somewhere.
And it doesn't say you can't smoke in your aircraft.
Right.
Well, I think it says, but then say, I don't know.
How much you guys got to collect for a fine?
I don't think that needs to be in there.
It says right here, on the east-west taxiway, if I'm in my airplane on the east-west runway, I'm taxiing.
Well, John, you know that doesn't mean that.
Well, I didn't, that's not the way I interpreted it, so.
But everything in that paragraph is just basic laws. I don't know why you're repeating it and why you're restricting smoking. That, to me, again, it's rules.
So I can understand, it shouldn't be allowed in the airport, period. Actually, it shouldn't have alcohol in the airport.
I think this comes from I'll call it big-time flying. At Mitchell Field, you won't see people smoking on a taxiway. You won't see them smoking around the aircraft. There's a reason for that. In the Air Force, we couldn't smoke on the taxiway or on a ramp or in a hangar. That's all it is. And it's not the cigarette that will ignite the fuel, it's the match. The cigarette doesn't burn hot enough to ignite the fuel. Sometimes the grass gets dry. Don't need a grass fire out there.
That's almost common sense, and that person would be responsible.
Oh, common sense now. Right.
I could go either way. I agree with Rick. I don't know if it needs to be there, but I also agree with Lou. I mean, I hate to sound wishy-washy, but I can see both points. I don't know if it needs to be in there, but I'd be fine either way.
Are there any signs for the fuel?
Yes, there's no smoking, but it doesn't say no alcohol.
Oh. Well, I probably should say that too, because you don't want that in your plane.
You don't want alcohol in that too.
Can we move to 18?
Yes.
Hangar owners are responsible for keeping their facilities in a neat and orderly appearance. They are solely responsible for grass mowing in the area around their hangar. Mowing must keep the grass less than 6 inches in height unless hampered by unusual weather. Hangar owners are not required to keep snow and ice removed from around their hangars or hangar apron. However, if snow or ice removal is desired, it is their sole responsibility. The town of Palmyra is not responsible for hangar damage caused by snow, ice, or any other weather event.
Does the village have an ordinance for grass height? What is it?
6 inches, I think.
Okay.
We
I'm
already
not
have that in the
100%
lease.
sure.
Right, I'm
That's
just
already in the
making sure
lease.
we're together.
How big of an area around the hangar? Because I've heard conflicting
Yeah,
arguments on
I
that.
have two conflicting,
You know, I've heard 2 feet, and I've also heard all the way to the center line of the taxiway.
I've heard 4 feet and 6 feet.
So, what is the definition
I
of
tell the
that?
guys not to get close to the hangars, because if they hit them with the tractor or the mower, we are responsible. So, wherever they don't mow up to, you're responsible to mow up to that.
There you go.
Whether it be 2 foot or 10 feet,
Okay.
whatever their grass mower is comfortable with it.
Does this relate to the T hangar?
No. The hangar's taken care of by us,
Okay.
because they're town owned.
So do you see a necessity for change of verbiage on this? Chris?
Isn't that paragraph already in the lease?
But this would be added to the lease.
It's already
so we
in
don't wanna
the,
have
it's
one
already
on
in
top of
the
other.
hangar lease.
Just take it out?
Yeah,
I think it's already in there.
All right.
that information's already in the lease.
Okay. 19, the entire airport is reserved exclusively for aviation activities.
Hold on there. Val, aren't, part of our sustainability, aren't we supposed to try and promote other activities out here besides just aviation? Sustainability of the airport?
You are supposed to make the airport as self-sustaining as possible by charging whatever fees are necessary to get to that point, but most airports, just due to their circumstances, are not self-sustaining. To the point, all airport property is supposed to be used for aeronautical purposes only unless you get it actually approved by FAA to use it for a non-aeronautical purpose. That's why hangar storage is such an issue with them, and storing RVs and boats and that kind of thing in hangars. But yeah, I don't have any problem with what's written here.
Okay.
Neat and orderly appearance. Aircraft owners and operators, hangar owners and tenants, itinerant aircraft, visitors, as well as other aviation, non-aviation interests are expected to maintain the airport in a neat and orderly manner at all times. The town of Palmyra does not provide trash receptacles nor provide trash removal services at the airport. No external storage of any kind is allowed between or around hangars or anywhere on airport grounds. No trash bags or barrels are permitted anywhere on airport grounds with the exception of the trash container at the fuel pump area and the aircraft waste oil barrel. Trash generated by any person must be removed from the grounds immediately. Pet waste must be picked up and removed immediately. Any equipment or air vehicle equipment must be removed from the airport public use areas immediately after use. So next we have a special events procedure, and actually we put this in here to allow for some relief from some of the previous items. But we also wrapped in the necessity for any special events to have a specific safety plan, which is here to protect all of us and the special event people as well as the public. So on some of this, I'd really be curious to see the police safety input on this. Have you looked at this? Do you have anything to say?
I did.
up front?
Well, I saw it in your first draft version. I haven't looked through the.
I don't think that changed at all in this one.
No, I thought it was a good plan. Because right now there isn't a plan. So there's different things will take place, and either we'll find out on short notice, or we'll find out about them after the fact, or when there's a need for something. I think having that organized process in place that everybody knows and follows is a good thing. I like having the airport manager is kind of that person that would contact me. What stuff, when somebody's gonna have an event permit, and then there's gonna be a point of contact with that group. And having that safety plan and that coordination, I think is helpful. It's very similar, I think, to what we just did with the fly-in this year. I got contacted, about 2 months prior to that. We coordinated vehicles, we coordinated, what our staff was gonna be and so on, rather than, having that come up a week before, so on. So, yeah, I don't have anything off the top of my head that I would change in this. I think it's good.
Okay, thank you.
My only question is, what do you define as a gathering of aircraft? Because for instance, Palmyra Flying Club, once in a while they'll host a flyout, and members aren't necessarily always based here, so they might fly into here, and you could have 6 planes fly in. Is that considered an event?
Do you think it's considered an event?
Well, I don't know, I'm asking. It doesn't define it.
Would you consider that an event?
Well, what I'm saying, maybe how about if you use the word open to the public? I mean, like when the Flying Club has a Father's Day breakfast, that's a huge event. I can understand the reason of this rule. But if 6 airplanes fly in to use the airport, is
That happens regularly, so it was never the intent to make those a special event.
I realize that's not the intent, but that's the way it's worded.
All right. Let's change it to loosen it up a little bit, how's that?
Well, if you read the definition, it says for the purpose of a contest, festival, air show, or other event on airport grounds.
Maybe.
So that would,
What's the other event definition? Again, if they host a flyout,
well,
that's an event.
I think you're getting over picky on that one.
I don't know,
Okay.
Because, I mean, it's like with 88 Charlie's, if they're gonna invite some folks in, you know, and they're gonna have airplanes fly in, that could be an event, but I agree if it's only 6 airplanes, I mean, it could be 7, could be 5, but do we wanna,
Is the concern the airplanes or the public coming in?
I don't think we want a rock concert out here.
But again, that's public. That's public attendance. It's not airplanes flying in.
Anything publicly advertised would make that distinction, like the Father's Day. Publicly advertised competition, flying competition.
because there was a thing where they had the fire department came in from all over, and it was a training exercise and stuff like that, so that really wasn't the airplane. They did have some, they had the Piper Cub to show how it could start, so that was advertised.
And that was publicly advertised, so that would be a good way to distinguish.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a good example of a special event, because there was a couple hundred people
Yeah.
here for that from all over.
So a publicly advertised event.
So that becomes an exemption for number 19?
No, because it'd still be an aviation activity. The public's invited to view or something about aviation activity.
So the fire department training would be,
Right.
would still fall under that because it
Right.
relates to
And the
what happens
fly-in,
at the airport. Okay.
fly-in's the same thing.
Okay, so then the wording festival here under special events maybe should be defined more clearly as aviation related or something like that, because that's pretty vague.
Well, the whole airport is only allowed for aeronautical uses. I mean, it goes right back to that. So like Frank said, you can't have a concert out here. What do you guys think?
Take festival out.
We could do that.
You could just add subject to paragraph 19.
Okay.
Pretty easy just to tie it together that way. This paragraph's renumbered anyway due to some of the
Right.
code, right?
It could be reordered also. Approval process. Approval for a special event must be requested from the airport manager by the event sponsor not less than 30 days prior to the event. The airport manager shall present the plan to the Palmyra Police and Fire Departments for their input and approval. At the discretion of the airport manager, the event sponsor may be charged the additional cost incurred by the Palmyra Police and Fire Departments and other municipal town county services incurred as a result of the special event. Insurance requirements, that's on my league, guys. Somebody want to have some input in there, or can we go to?
Well, this would be not a special event, this goes back to the hang gliders. I talked to our insurance agent, and she said you have to have your own insurance for all the hang gliders.
Which, so would any other operator out there, I mean, 88 Charlie, I would think, would have liability
Right.
insurance, Palmyra Flying Club would have.
But you would have to have proof of insurance for everybody that's involved in the, it'd be a blanket coverage, probably, but we would have to know that that you have that insurance.
I'm talking about a special event or for day-to-day
For
operations?
day-to-day operations,
If everybody else does that, we're fine with that.
because pilots are supposed, you gotta insure your own planes. I mean,
Well,
we're only,
This insurance looks like this belongs to, special event, it's saying special events.
I know I said it's not just for
Okay.
special events, but, yes, we have to have the insurance requirements for the special events, but there was nothing covered in the other stuff about insurance either.
Okay, then how about, If you're gonna make the hang gliders have insurance out here, what about transient aircraft coming in?
They should have their
They
insurance.
don't have to, there's no.
They don't, you do not have to have aircraft insurance.
Maybe commercial liability on the tow is all you're gonna have to worry about. If it's commercial operation, they should have liability insurance.
If it is commercial, and that's what
What
I'm
is-
talking
If
about.
you're charging, it's commercial.
What does our insurance
No,
cover?
I just said, not
Do
necessarily.
you know offhand?
And then they cover any of the private stuff. The only insurance that they have to show proof of is for people that have,
T-hanger space.
T-hanger space and long-term tie down.
Okay.
Otherwise, it's up to the individual. They don't have to have it if they don't want it.
All right,
Just like your house, if your house is paid off, you don't have to have it, or your car.
okay.
Car you do because,
Well, you do have
that's a law,
right.
state law there. Liability, but they don't put my collision law.
The lease indicates, and I don't know if this is a current one, but the amount that's in there is a $300,000 combined single limit, including bodily injury and property damage.
That's for T-hangers?
Couldn't tell you actually.
Oh, okay.
I've got
I think that was
a blank
T-hangers, I
lease.
don't think the regular lease had that clause in there.
That's a T-hangers,
Okay.
yes.
Do you know what the regular lease for the other hangars requires?
Nothing,
Nothing?
no, that's not our
Because they own their own
responsibility.
hangars.
That's all theirs.
Going back just a little bit to the approval process, I'm kind of bothered a little bit about the word approval from the fire and police department. It's putting, I think, a little too much authority in the police department fire. So if they don't like so-and-so event, you know, is there a way that there could be a way of talking about it or something? It just, you know,
I don't know how you wanna write that in there.
Wouldn't they approve?
because the input, yes, I understand
Are you
that.
part of the board? Yeah. Okay, that's what I thought. Are you guys working on special event permits to come up with a procedure for that?
No, I
Okay.
mean, it's kind of been on a back burner, but to
That's
be
what I
honest,
thought,
this was
okay.
the only, this was the one that raised eyebrows, was the ultralight, and it was kind of after the fact.
Okay, so then you don't have.
Because that required,
Yeah, we do not have a special events permit,
No.
Okay,
or a special events ordinance at this point.
well, if they don't, if they don't have an ordinance for it, I say we need the police and fire audit, we can ask them.
I
Which
think
is,
we
which
should
is,
let them know.
which is the
Yeah, let them know.
input, which is the input portion, I just don't know about the approval at this point, because I don't think there's enough put down there.
We contract with the village for fire protection, and I think we owe them the respect of letting them approve any kind of special event.
Yeah, there's certain things that may, depending on what type of event you may have stuff that starts overlapping into our jurisdictional authority, depending on what it is and what kind of gathering and what kind of things are going on at it. And that's,
But that's really what
but
the
looking at
airport
something, and
manager
that's
would
part
be
of,
that.
yeah, and that's part of why you just come and say, hey, we're gonna do this, and, you know, I would think that,
Just like control burns, we call before we start burning, so they know,
Right.
okay, yeah.
yeah, I would think that in most cases, there's not gonna be an issue with that,
I guess I just don't like the word approval, it just puts too much authority with one person, that if that person doesn't like something, there's no process.
What about just the word review then?
Or even just notification.
Yeah,
Shall be notified.
I like
Shall
that
be
better.
notified. That way they can make sure they have enough people on hand, paramedics and stuff.
So instead of approval, what would it say?
Review here.
Notification.
Process.
I just said notified, shall be notified.
Oh, there it is, okay.
Can I make another comment?
Yeah.
Okay, so we're saying notification, but the town owns the airport and the town contracts with the village for fire protection. So if the public safety director, which is James Small, sees something really glaring that's involved in a permit, how does he have any authority if we're not gonna give it to him to say, whoa, this is not okay? If we only have a notification from him.
But wouldn't he have authority to question it as the public safety director when he sees something that he feels is not safe? Wouldn't he have the authority anyway to question it?
That's my question to them.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, they would have to follow an NFPA reg on something for fire or crowd control.
Yeah,
or
you gotta-
something.
I mean, there's, especially when you get into the fire side, there's so many different regulations where you can pull authority from, especially as a fire chief, the ability to come in and just say, no, this is gonna stop right now, just runs pretty high when you're the fire chief.
So that would be under
Something
review, for, you know,
yeah.
not just notify and send you a smoke signal and say we're having it, but it'd be under review, but,
Yeah, I think a 30-day notification is reasonable. I mean, for any of these events that go on out here, that should be enough lead time. 3 days generally isn't, but 30 should be. Because if there's an issue with it, then we can raise the issue with the town board or whoever, or the airport commission or airport manager. That opens that door to, if the town board wanted to step in and hold a special meeting and say, you're not having this at our airport, and I don't know how their authority lies with the commission and so on, but I think it allows for that if that's needed, if there's a concern, but I would think in most cases that stuff would get worked out pretty early. You call the person in charge of the event and say, are you thinking about this? And then they say, oh yeah, I didn't. And then we figure out a solution, and that's generally that's how I've operated, both here in Palmyra and in my previous position as a chief, where we had a lot more special events going on when I was up north. And we figured out solutions to things. I can't think of an instance where we denied a event from taking place because of safety concerns. We just figured out a way to make it work.
but if there was, it'd still give you currently the path to deny it. I'm just saying, having too much control over something with last minute of, stuff, I don't think
What we
it's a
don't
good
wanna
idea.
do is, we don't wanna have an event that's unsafe. We don't wanna have something where we all sit back and go, oh, that's a really bad idea, and then something bad happens, right? And you see that happen, there's a reason why there's 24 hours worth of news a day, right? Because those kind of things happen, but I think if we have a process in place like you're describing here, that we can look at those things and tweak those things out and figure that out. And, right now, with the current operations you have out here, I don't envision issues like that.
But we are trying to.
Right, you're trying to look
set
to
it
the
up for
future and be proactive
eventualities.
here. But I think using what you currently do out here as your basis for what you're working off of, I think you're in pretty good shape if you're using that as your vision. You look at the fly-in last weekend, it's a good event, it's well run, it's coordinated well. And have that kind of vision going forward that, hey, we're not just gonna whip something together on 3 days' notice, put a Facebook notification up and see how many crazy people we can have show up for this thing. I think having that lead time and having a plan in place is a good way to go.
Well, the 30 days doesn't apply though to the notice given to you.
I think it does, doesn't it?
Well, it
Or
said
the
the
airport
airport
manager.
manager is supposed to be notified, but then it said they shall present the plan, but there's no time frame there. Maybe shall immediately, so upon Chris or whoever's the airport manager becoming aware of it, then it comes right away. I mean, cause according to this, you could bring this to James a day before.
What would be better though, 60 days is brought to Chris in case he wants to change something, he has time to change it, and then 30 days, then Chris notifies Palmyra 30 days ahead of time. That way he has 4 weeks you have 4 weeks to look it over and talk to the people that changed something, come up with a solution or problem that we see before we present it to the fire and police department. What do you think of that?
That's fine. I like
Would the term review, for their input and approval or notification or whatever, would review kind of smooth the water?
I would like re-review,
Yeah, I mean, that kind of suggests that you might have a little
right?
say in the matter, but
The way this is worded, ultimately, the airport manager is gonna make the call with the input of the police and fire department.
Cal, do you see a problem with that?
Sounds good.
Event general plan. A special event sponsor shall present a general plan to the airport manager that includes dates, times, weather alternative date, the anticipated number of aircraft participants, estimated public attendance, name of the group, group sponsor or contact persons, contact information, and a plan for vehicle parking, aircraft parking and securing, sanitation, trash pickup and disposal, restoring damage or excessive wear to runway or other surfaces. The plan must detail the number and size of any temporary structures or tents or signage, timetable for erection and removal, and method of securing from wind and storms. And then those blank areas, if you're looking at it, were for other things that you might think of. None? Awesome. Event safety coordinator. Each special event shall have a designated safety coordinator. This position will be the main contact regarding safety issues and safety planning, and will be the liaison between the special event and police, fire, emergency services, and the airport manager regarding all issues of safety. The designated event coordinator or designee shall be on airport grounds at all times during the special events. As part of the approval process, the special event sponsor shall develop and submit a safety plan for the proposed event. The safety plan shall include the following plus any additional items deemed necessary by the airport manager or Palmyra Police and Fire Departments. Segregation of the public from dangerous areas, crowd control, access by emergency vehicles and personnel, plan for securing aircraft on the ground from wind and storms. Additionally, the safety plan must address the training of persons responsible for aircraft marshaling and for operators of ground vehicles on airport boundaries, right-of-way rules, procedures for operating in the airport environment, and blank and blank. James, you think of anything else?
No, I think that's reasonable also. I mean, that's no different than what we do with all our special events planning, or even right down to some of our training plans. If you're doing anything that's more extensive in our training plan, we have a very specific safety plan that goes as part of that. So I think people might at first think that's overkill, but if you're the one that ran the event for the last 15 years, it seems like overkill, but when somebody else has to take that over down the line, that's gonna be a very helpful tool for them when they look at, how did we do the permit last year? This is what we need to do again. So I think that's a good tool.
So NOTAMs, which is notices to airmen, issuance shall be coordinated between the event safety coordinator and the airport manager.
I'm assuming that's really not related to like day-to-day operations, this is still in the special event?
This is still special.
Okay, thank you.
A safety meeting including pilots, ground personnel, equipment operators, event safety coordinator, pilots and operators, and event managers shall be conducted daily prior to the start time of the special event and prior to the anticipated arrival time of the public. The safety meeting time will be included in the safety plan, and if changed, notice shall be given to both the airport manager and Palmyra Police Department. No special event shall be allowed to impede the operation of any aircraft or block taxiways, runway, fuel pump, or hangar access.
I'm assuming when we even have our Father's Day event, we park some of the overflow in front of hangars, would I have to get approval from them? Or that, again, splitting hairs there.
Yeah, but you really haven't blocked anybody that I've seen.
But if they have cars in front of their hangars, they can't get out.
I haven't seen, I was aircraft parking the last 2 years, I didn't see an issue, but you were doing vehicles, so.
Well, yeah, it's not both, but when we get to an overflow, there's sometimes where we'll have some vehicles parked in front.
I would probably should permission from the aircraft. I know a lot of people wouldn't fly that day.
Right.
I can attest to that, trying to get into the Hawks hangar to get one of their, not being able to remove the airplane from the hangar because it's cars parked all in front of the hangars. Just a quick note, the NOTAMs, I understand that generally there's an issue you're supposed to check, all pilots are supposed to check NOTAMs to make sure that the airport's not closed or mowing operations or repair work. So you would have a NOTAM issue for a special event similar to the glider event that was here, held here, where 80-some gliders were here last year. Would that be a NOTAM that was closed to general operations?
If it's closed.
I would assume you would, when you got that many gliders here.
Because like when we did a NOTAM for that temporary taxiway, that was during that event. But that would be on a case-by-case through the airport manager. Because if they're only having 5 or 6 glider operations, I don't think that
Close
closing.
it, you call it a special event.
Right.
The 80 is what concerned me, if you have that many, you'd almost have to close the operations, general operations on this airport.
What'd you think of it, Chris, last year? You were here, weren't you?
Yeah, I thought everything went fine last year.
And you didn't see any reason to close the airport because of 80 gliders out there?
No.
Okay.
Did you, Frank? You were up here too.
Yeah, I was up here for a little while and, general aviation aircraft for landing.
Because if they're required to take all the stuff off the runway after use,
Right.
it still allow time.
That's the paragraph below free access.
Their operation was pretty efficient. Getting the hang gliders up, getting them off the runway, getting the carts off the runway.
It was well organized.
Uh,
Yeah, I wasn't here for that.
I was actually impressed by the
I was
efficiency
actually
of it.
impressed too, how smooth it went.
There was a lot of movement. And, in that time, there were aircraft that took off from our airport and landed.
Yeah, I agree, everything went smooth that day from what I saw.
So I'm assuming you're kind of going out of Pete, so if you're going to take off or land and you had to wait a moment or something, you're not really thinking of that as a Pete.
No, I just was questioning whether or not there'd be a NOTAM issue that would actually close the airport to general operations during an event like that. Where there
It
was
wouldn't be a bad idea. I
quite
mean,
a large
that was a
amount.
huge event. That wasn't, why they
Which would only
came here
happen
was
once or twice a
because
year,
they,
I assume.
like I say, it was a worldwide event. People came from all around the world to come here. And why they used Palmyra, because the winds weren't conducive for them flying out of Whitewater. So it was, I think the event lasted for an entire week, and they were just here that one day.
But it just showed that it didn't need to be closed. It's more or less at the discretion or with the airport manager and to discuss for the actual event. So it's not just a carte blanche, it's gonna be closed, it's the.
Correct.
But the special event discussion that we just had with the 60-day and 30-day notice kind of blows out of the water with, whoops, the wind isn't in the right direction.
No, wait, no.
Or do you get a,
No, I had at least 60 days.
oh, okay,
And what was said was, if the winds were not conducive for Whitewater,
oh,
they come
okay,
here
all right,
during that week period.
okay.
And yes, they could, and yes, they did. And I did get a safety plan and insurance paper. I had a stack of papers like this from you. And he had, everything that's in there, he had covered. So he did a very good job on that, without even asking for it, really.
Wrapping this up, the airport manager or designee has the right and responsibility to cause special event operations to cease or pause if any elements of this document are not in compliance, safety is compromised, risk is deemed excessive, traffic pattern rules are infringed, or other aircraft are impeded or blocked from use. Police or fire department have safety concerns or for any other cause deemed safety related. This is solely at the discretion of the airport manager. The special event sponsor or special event safety coordinator may negotiate risk mitigation and attempt to have the special event continue.
I think that sounds reasonable.
Mona? I have a question that wasn't covered and it's maybe not even related because I know nothing about airplanes or flying. I've noticed over at Whitewater that there is a hill, and I've gone past there sometimes when it looks like they're training and people are going down the hill instead of being towed by an airplane. Is that something that you do? And if it is part of the training, what would you do here? We don't have a hill out here.
If this is the only place we operate, of course, that would not be available. And there are flight clerks around the country that exist without the foot launch and landing technique training,
Okay.
and will just land on wheels.
How far do they go when they do that, when they're gonna launch off? I mean, is that their intent to take off, or is it just the feel of initially leaving?
I think at 3 feet off the ground, it's a really good day.
Well, the reason, I go back to that area that by the salt area, there is area over there that, again, if that was deemed something that could be developed, you know, it could be looked at. There's an area over there. But again, that's just down the road. That's something that's not developed now, but there's land over there.
Yeah, I mean, it's a valuable asset, but it's not a required asset for it.
So Danny, would you, if I wanted to learn how to fly hang gliders, that's a possibility. Can you walk me through the procedure if you were doing it all here? How would I learn how on this airport? And how long would we tie the runway up?
Are we going through that, or are we going through this?
I think we're done with
Is
this.
that part of this?
No?
Okay.
Want to just continue it? Somebody brought it up.
But if you're interested, I'll be glad to take the time to talk to you, but I don't know if I want to do that in this meeting.
Yeah, because it was really about this draft and stuff.
Is there anything that wasn't covered in this draft that anybody here feels should have been?
I have a question. Is there a previous version of this? I mean, it's like, did we just invent this, or?
It was made, just invented.
Okay.
I would have to say good job.
Yes.
As an airport commission, it's a newly formed thing, and we have to come up with rules and regulations for the airport. And it became more prevalent after we became an obligated airport. There are certain laws that we have to follow in regard to the federal and state government, and it's been something new. Prior to this, we've kind of been a fly by the seat of our pants operation out here.
Okay, going back to Don Hagan, he ran it like he was the king. And we're not doing that now, and it's a learning process, and every year we learn a little bit more. This is something we should have done probably when we first started it, but as I have said many times, I'm not a pilot, I know nothing about it. These guys all volunteered to help me. So we're learning as we go. And Lou added this, and he did a wonderful job, I think. I'm glad everybody showed up that did, because I need the input from everybody. And to try to exclude somebody, I don't want to do that on one hand. On the other hand, I want everybody to be safe. And I also, you know, the pilots that have been here, they're the ones that have kept this airport going. So I have to take what they say with a lot of consideration. It's a start. It can always be amended. And not everybody's gonna be happy with whatever comes out of it. But it's like anything else, you have to start somewhere. You have to do something, sometimes even if it's wrong, to get it right. So, that's why I'm asking you if there's anything you think should go in here. We're gonna tie this to the hangar leases. And we haven't come up with any idea, we haven't come up with what we're gonna do if people violate these rules. How restrictive are we gonna make it? One strike and you're out? Do you get a warning? Do you get 2 warnings? Is there fines involved? And do we have categories of how egregious something is? Like somebody lets their grass get, you know, a foot tall, or we have to cut it because they didn't do it. Well, they're gonna have to pay for the time to do it or something like that. We have to come up with these rules too. I don't wanna tie up everybody's day. And some of this stuff we're gonna have to do at a later time.
Just a thought, because you mentioned you're gonna tie it to the hangar leases. But these rules aren't intended just for the hangar owners, are they?
No, but the FAA told me, when we make up these set of rules, we should tie it to the leases, because that's the way you can control the pilots.
Okay, but how do we get the word out to non-hangar owner pilots that fly in and out of here?
Well, is there a big problem with people flying in here that don't obey basically what our rules are? I mean, is there a problem with
I
pilots?
don't know, we
that
just
come in?
established rules for the
Yeah, I
first
know.
time,
But
and we're gonna have pilots come in that fly in here that,
how many of the things that we talked about today have been violated? 1 or 2, 3, 4 maybe over the years?
yeah.
Well, pilots coming in here should be following NOTAMs for sure, checking that to radius, right? And then
Right, but that's my question, it's not a NOTAM, it's not
No,
public,
this-
it's only the hangar owners.
Well, most of this in here, how should I
Refers to
say,
based aircraft.
is,
Or folks that are gonna wanna come in for
if
special
they're
event.
following the FARs that are on the books, they'll be just fine.
Then
Okay?
why are we having
They-
these rules then?
Because they're not coming in here discussing something about a special event, all right? They're not concerned with the grass cutting. I don't know what else we can go through here,
Yeah.
but most of this, these rules are local rules. And through NOTAMs, right? Pilots flying in here should know what's going on, okay? If you look in their airport directory, they should do that. It's a requirement, flying to an airport, know where you're going, so they should know what facilities are here. That should be put in the airport directory. It should have in there that there's occasional hang gliding, if that's gonna be happening here. If there's parachute jump, you'll see that if you look in your airport directory. Airports have skydiving, that's in there. All the facilities are listed. We as pilots know what's in there.
Okay, my point of that question is that I think you need to make this document public. A good place to be on the town webpage,
Well, that'd be fine.
Yeah, sure.
okay?
No problem with that.
I mean, because it's not just the hang owners. I understand your question about the comment about the grass, but that's a hangar issue, and actually that's already in the hangar leases, so I'm not sure why we're duplicating that, but.
It's moving out, they're scratching it.
But anyways, but the pilot or the airport operations and things, I mean, there's people gonna be flying in here, we need to make them aware of it. At the
Those
very
operations
least, it
ought to
should be
be-
on the webpage or any other
That's
public
fine.
places that you can post it.
I guess I haven't phoned for a while, but I've never checked a web page for what is at an airport, or the rules of an airport.
Okay, but when's the last time you've flown, Frank?
Oh, it's about 1997.
Oh, before the internet.
Well, a lot of
So
air-
is that what people do now?
A lot of airports do have this, like Watertown, they have other
Yes.
things, and so this is just, and in regards for the grass, I think you brought up a point earlier, there is some gray area, and I just read the lease, it doesn't specify, so I think we will have to nail that down a little bit.
I could have sworn I read that
It,
before.
it doesn't talk about the height, it's not really very specific, nor is the snow, I think we addressed that.
But there's wording about mowing the grass.
Right, but
Yeah.
how far out? I mean, so it's,
Yeah.
you know, like I know in our particular case, we usually don't go down the taxiway, because if you have to shovel to the end of your approach, you have to cut your grass to the end of the approach, but that's not said anywhere. Some
Right.
people would say 2 feet, so we're gonna have to address that, I think. So then that would tie in, like you said, to the hangar leases, that we kind of breezed over a little bit, but I think we're gonna have to address that. But most airports do usually have this, Rochelle has one, you know, other airports have it, and it was recommended that we would have some type of operation agreement for the different upcoming things, so.
I just want to say, I think you need policies and procedure as a board for this airport. If for no other reason than everybody then is treated by the same rules. You're not, you don't have a guy running the joint that's buddied up with some guys that doesn't like somebody else. It would be fair and equal treatment for everybody. I really think you do need to have policies and procedures set down that we can always refer to. Good idea.
And this board is not going to be permanent. It's fluid. And there has to be something that a new board member can look at to get an idea of what's going on at the airport. And I don't know if it's a good idea to have someone that's not a pilot on there. In some cases it is, because you look at it differently, and you get more of a public overview of what's going on, as long as you don't interfere with what's being done for the airport. And that's why I trust these guys. They've all been good board members. Lou's new on the board, but Dave and John have been here since we started this. They helped get it going. We're trying to get along with everybody. And we're trying to make this airport as safe as possible, as presentable as possible, and as accessible as possible. So, there's a couple issues we still have going on, but they're not major issues yet, and I don't think they will be. As to the hang gliders coming here, that's what started all this. And the pilots that are here don't want them, for the most part. I got a stack of emails telling me that they don't want the hang gliders. Then I got another stack of emails from the hang gliders saying how much they want to be here and how they can get along with everybody. So I think it's give them a chance. That's my own opinion. If it doesn't work, then we have to do something different. There's,
I think in regards to the hang gliders, education would be a very good thing. I really don't have any idea how the operation runs, I'd like to know. You know, it's, somebody says, well, I gotta have hang gliders all over. Well, I'm kinda not okay with that. I don't know what rules they fly by. They may be just as educated and trained as a private. I don't have any idea.
So,
We need education.
I have one comment on that. At the Bureau, we have a chief pilot that partners with the FSDO, the FAA safety team, and they've been going around the state doing